Mike's on Mike, a conversation about politics, government, and Jacksonville, with 50-year opinion leaders Mike Hightower, Mike Tolbert, and award-winning broadcaster and longtime political observer, Mike Miller.
Welcome to another episode of Mike's on Mike. I'm Mike Miller. I'm alone in studio, except my guest is with us. Both Mike Hightower and Mike Tolbert are at their respective remote studios, but we're glad to have you with us. And of course, as always, the Jacksonville History Center is our sponsor. We want to thank Alan Bliss and his fine staff as well as the very generous donors that we have that keep our lights on and our cameras rolling. Probably no single project in Jacksonville has received more attention than the long-anticipated and ongoing construction of the Emerald Trail. Our guest today is Kay Ehas. She is CEO of Groundwork Jacksonville, the nonprofit created to develop the Emerald Trail, which was first called, by the way, the Emerald Necklace, for those who may not know their history. Kay came to Jacksonville back in the early 2000s, sent to her by Vista, and like so many of us, she ended up staying. Kay worked with a good friend of ours, Jim Overton. She was his EA, and boy, we had a lot of work that we did together when I was with the administration at that point. And of course, he was a member of the city council, and then of course, he was elected to property appraiser. That's when she got involved in the Riverside Avondale Preservation, or better known as RAP, as a volunteer, and then became the chair for the last 3 years. Kay, it's great to have you on Mike's on Mike. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And Mr. Tolbert, kick it off as always.
Make it a softball question.
To see you. Thanks for joining Mike's on Mike. Let's don't assume that everybody out there is listening to us or watching us knows what the Emerald Trail is or why it's important. So tell us a little of the history and share with us the vision for the trail when it is completed, and when do you have any idea when that might be?
Okay, that's a lot. That's a big question. So
Got a half hour.
So I'm only getting one question and I got 30 minutes to answer it. So
Easiest one.
as you all are aware, the idea of an emerald necklace had been in downtown master plan for decades. Groundwork Jacksonville came to be in 2014 at the request of the Springfield and East Side neighborhoods, along with the Alvin Brown administration, to focus on cleaning up urban land and waterways. Specifically, the creeks, McCoy's and Hogan's Creeks, had been the city's number 1 and 2 flooding problems for decades. And so they saw Groundwork Jacksonville as a way to help the city move those projects forward. And I am happy to report that we are doing exactly what we were asked to do from the beginning. And so when I first started with Groundwork in 2017, there was a new mayoral administration, Mayor Curry. And we, at that point, had only created a youth program. We hadn't really advanced anything else. And so we went to the city and said, we're going to raise private dollars to do a trail master plan that will advance what was considered the Emerald Necklace at that time. And we invited kind of all the urban core neighborhoods, as well as city folks and other public agency and businesses. And the Path Foundation out of Atlanta, who was instrumental in the Atlanta Beltline, had 25 years at that time of trail planning, design, and construction experience to help us put together the master plan. And I always talk about how we blew up the original vision of an emerald necklace because it's 30 miles, it's probably 34 miles, 30 miles of trail and linear parks that are connecting all of the original urban core neighborhoods that surround downtown. So that is kind of what drives Groundwork, is the fact that we are connecting these original neighborhoods, a lot of them historically majority Black neighborhoods that have been around for a long time. And we see the Emerald Trail as a way to not only bring those neighborhoods together socially, it's going to be kind of the first major infrastructure project in the urban core other than highways, if you think about it, right? That kind of hurt those neighborhoods by dividing them or in some ways decimating them. But it's also going to be 30 miles of a way to get around without a car. 25% of Jacksonville residents can't afford a car. It's going to improve the environment as we go. Not only are we restoring 6 miles of creeks that are currently polluted and of very bad water quality, and no real fish or anything are going up there, but we are adding green infrastructure all along the trail, whether it's adding new trees and plants, but also bioswales and butterfly gardens and rain gardens to capture stormwater and treat it before it gets into the creek system. Is that a good answer?
That's a good answer.
That's a great answer. Thank you.
Yeah, Kay, and welcome. Glad to have you here. I think you sort of explained what is Groundworks and maybe the connection. So very quickly, just connect how Groundwork and the Emerald Trail will come together. That's number one. Number two, how'd you get involved? And then I have a third follow-up after we find out how you got involved.
Okay, so the connection for Groundwork again is, okay, let me step back even further. In the mid-90s, the EPA and the National Park Service actually founded Groundwork USA as a nonprofit to specifically focus on creating green space and parks in urban neighborhoods and to actually get urban youth out into national parks and all that sort of thing. So the idea is to use green space to help revitalize neighborhoods and to bring, nature is so important to all of us, like to children, to our social well-being. 10 minutes in nature reduces stress and it's cumulative. And so one of the things I love is bringing more nature to an urban environment and giving access to folks that, they don't have access to McCoy's Creek right now. Most people don't even know it's there. And wait, you guys need to go on a tour because it is amazing what's happening out there. And so my undergraduate's in social welfare. I wanted to save the world. And then I realized I couldn't save the world.
Really?
And so, I went into, I can save a little part of the world.
That's enough.
And so I went into corporate HR. I was in banking for a number of years and quit to go to grad school. I got a master's in communication from Florida. That's when Jim Overton called me up and said, will you come be my aide for my last year? And I'm like, isn't that a secretary? I just got my master's degree. And he said, no, I'm going to run for another office and I need you to run this office. So that's another story I can tell you about later because there was a little controversy in some respects with me running his office when he wasn't there because it wasn't typically done. And at that point, that was for a year and it was the best decision I ever made. Seriously, to get to understand how the city works, to get to understand city council, you meet so many people and then you also get more connected to neighborhoods that it represents. And one of the things I was struck with that first year I was there is, Mike, this is not against you, but how much the city didn't seem to appreciate active neighborhoods. Like they thought of them as pains in the butts. And I saw myself as an advocate for those neighborhoods. Like I really saw my role as advocating for them. And so,
which mic did you direct that at?
Well, Mike Tolbert wasn't there then. And I think this Mike, who's in the office with me, said he was there then, so I was directing it to him.
Yeah, I was part of the Delaney administration and the liaison to city council, so we had discussions almost daily about issues going on, including that. I think that my boss at the time, Mr. Delaney, would take issue with that assessment that we didn't care about neighborhoods.
I'm not saying you, but I'm saying certain folks.
Certain folks, because remember, one of the promises that Delaney had made during his campaign was to open up these pocket parks all over the city.
It wasn't Delaney, but it was some lower staff that just perceived activist residents as a pain in the butt. Okay. And I see them as if every neighborhood had them, we'd be a better city.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut on that because I've got a few people's ideas going through my head. But that's all right. You'll totally never show, Miller. You told me. And one unknown chair I'd participate in.
Let's do it.
With Overton. So,
okay.
Go back to ground.
So then I got...
You're with Overton.
Yep. And then I got involved in Riverside Avondale.
I'm really sorry to hear that. So please tell him I said that.
I mean, seriously, he's one of two favorite bosses that I ever had. But I then became involved in Riverside Avondale preservation. And we did a lot of good work during that time. And I began to see my passion as, I also helped get past downtown becoming a National Historic Register district. And so I really saw my passion as what I consider urban core revitalization, like making the urban core better because it's got so much potential. And so I kept thinking, how can I get paid for my passion? Well, then Jerry Holland came on as the property appraiser. He let me go after a year. And it, again, best thing that could have happened, because property appraising is not my passion, right? And if he had not laid me off, I would not be in this job today. And so I really feel like it is my passion job.
All right. Let kind of move on. So you've been there how long now?
8 years.
8 years. Okay. A couple of our good friends, David Miller and Brian Wolfberg, have been engaged a long time in Groundworks Jack. What role would you say that they and others have played in the Emerald trade, but really in Groundworks Jack?
So we set out to make this a community project, not a city project, right? It's going to be our trail. We want everybody involved, everybody to be a part of it. And so I think I met Brian Wolfberg on a Buffalo chamber trip and asked to have a meeting with him. And he agreed to donate the first meeting we had. So the ViStar was our first major corporate donor. And trying to remember. Oh, and David Miller. So remember, Mike Hightower, when we had we kicked off a small capital campaign at the Haskell building?
Correct.
Back in, I think it was February of 2019. And David Miller came. I had not met him prior to that. And he made a donation like right after that, because we were raising money so we had an agreement with the city after the Trail Master Plan was adopted by council that Groundwork and the city would each pay for half of trail design and the city would pay for construction. So we were coming out to raise money for the first trail design segment. And so he donated for that. And then we asked the two of them to become trail champions, to like publicly support us, connect us, all that sort of thing.
All right, let's play a little bit more with the history of this thing, because it really is fascinating. The trail was intended to as you pointed out, link neighborhoods and schools, colleges, hospitals, and businesses along the way. But the idea is not brand new. In fact, famed architect Henry Clouthier was the first who had the idea of the Emerald Necklace. And as he saw it, it was going to be a series of parks and greenways, trails, and waterways that circled downtown and connected those neighborhoods. Now, Clouthier came to Jacksonville following the great 1903 fire. Why did it take so long?
Well, I'm going to have to say, because otherwise he'll get mad at me, Wayne Wood would disagree with that.
You would tell him that old?
Yeah, maybe. But he would disagree that Clouthier was the one that came up with the idea for the Emerald Necklace.
Really?
Yeah. But you'd have to ask him about that. Because that's what we thought too. And then Wayne corrected us.
Did he say it was his idea?
No.
Whose idea was it?
I don't know. That's
a
good question.
If we don't know who it is, then by golly, it's Henry Clouthier.
Because we were also, so the first groundbreaking we had for the LaVilla Link, and Mayor Curry was speaking, and I did say in my comments, it only took Groundwork Jacksonville to get a 100-year project finally started.
Well, we're glad it did.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room for a minute. I'm sure, Kay, you're sitting there wondering when we're going to ask this question, but in early July, we learned that the Trump administration had canceled a $147 million grant that had been awarded to the Emerald Trail by the Biden administration. When that announcement came first with the awarding of the grant, we all celebrated. But then when it was canceled, it kind of felt like an airplane just fell out of the sky. How does Groundwork Jacks pivot now with the loss of the grant, and does the 2031 completion date change or still hold?
So, number one, I wasn't surprised because the name of the grant was the Neighborhood Access Equity Grant. So I thought, it might get canceled.
DEI.
Yeah, because of DEI. So here's what I would say, a couple of things, because I look for silver linings in everything. People thought Groundwork Jacksonville did not need money because of the gas tax and the federal grant. But those funds are only going to design and construct the trail itself. It doesn't go to sustaining our organization. It doesn't go to maintenance. It doesn't go to community. There's a lot of things it doesn't go to. So we'll always need to raise money. But it was harder once those things happened. And when the grant was canceled, we got calls from foundations and donors about what can we do to help. So that's one silver lining in that respect. But we are losing. That grant would have given us over $7 million to do a number of things. It would have paid project staff for 6 years. It would have paid our community engagement expenses to engage community for trail design. And it would have given us funds to create 6 neighborhood revitalization plans in neighborhoods that really need a plan. I mean, we believe that residents should be the architects of their revitalization. And so that's our approach. And also money to help neighborhood organizations build capacity. So we are moving forward on the neighborhood revitalization plans through other sources of funding because we think they're so critical to those neighborhoods to do that. So we're moving forward with that. The other thing I would say is that we would have had to design 4 trail segments and construct 5 like almost all at the same time, which would have been a really huge undertaking. And so that takes some of the pressure off of that in terms of capacity. But here's how we're proceeding. So remember, we started this project without gas tax dollars and without a federal grant, and we were moving forward. The city had put it in their capital improvement project budget every year for construction. So we have enough money to construct segments 3 and 4 with gas tax dollars that will be in place during that time period. And then I believe that to get federal and state money, it's better to have a project designed and be shovel ready. That you're more likely to get federal or state dollars. So my goal would be to just start designing segment 6 as well. And we're going to go back out and raise private dollars for design because it's a different ballgame now, right? If we want to keep the project moving, we have to get some private money to keep it going as we seek additional federal or state funds for construction.
Kay, that grant was to the Jacksonville Transportation Authority. Tell me what the JTA's involvement in the trail is.
So they became involved when, the city split the new gas tax dollars 50-50 between JTA and the city. And at that time, there was some pushback from some council members about all of that money going to the U2C. And so...
that is the autonomous vehicle.
Right.
program.
That's now called Navi.
Yep.
Navi. And so there was a negotiation and the JTA agreed to set aside $132 million of that for the Emerald Trail. That money, gas tax money, staying with JTA, and that's how they became involved. So that interlocal that agreement says that they will construct 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8. So 5 trail segments, 15 miles, about half of the total trail system. So they have the funds, I would say. They have the gas tax dollars. We were a co-applicant on that federal grant. The city is the owner, right? The city's the owner. It's a city asset. It's a Groundwork Jacks project. Groundwork Jacksonville we're working on a long-term agreement with the city because we intend to maintain, activate, and program the trail long-term. So JTA is involved in getting it constructed. We are going to continue to lead the design process, though, along with JTA and the city. It's a team. It's a team effort. It's a partnership.
I'm an alumnus of JTA. I was there for 15 years. And we had programs about putting out benches for people at our different spots and the stops as well as in the shelters and things of that sort. And one of the things that we insisted upon, and this was a very good idea, was in order to try to discourage those who are without homes, to make sure that they wouldn't sleep on our benches, we had armrests that were installed on all of our benches to make it as uncomfortable as possible for anyone to do anything other than just sit there waiting for their bus. But I've noticed with the Emerald Trail benches, they don't have these rails. Why is that, and how do you feel about the possibility of those without a home who end up using this as a temporary sleeping facility?
So we intentionally did not do that because we want them to be welcoming for people generally. I think that we do find homeless on them. And so one of the reasons that we want to maintain it is that we can then move people off as well. Because our goal is going to be that folks that want to use it are not discouraged from using it, that it's a welcoming place for them. So
It would not be just as welcoming if they had armrests?
no, I don't think so. Can't fit as many people on a bench. So we really believe that you don't design out of fear. You don't make design decisions based on what you don't necessarily want to happen. Or that might not be, because you don't want crime to happen. We do want to design so crime doesn't happen. But, we didn't make that decision.
Go kind of on this whole thing of neighborhoods. You have so many neighborhoods to work through and now less funding than you need. How do you prioritize your construction? Do you develop places that are most likely to be used a lot and then draw attention right away? Or you focus on the more underserved? So how do you make those priorities?
So the Trail Master Plan has the priorities based on the numbers. So, and that was the intent, was to do those that would be likely to be used most first. And so the La Villa Link, Hogan Street, core of downtown is number 2. The Riverside Link, which will connect to the Riverwalk and McCoy's Creek, is number 3. So we are doing it in that way. 5 and 9 are Hogan's Creek. We are currently designing the restoration of that creek. And segment 9 connects the Riverwalk and the Sports and Entertainment District. So that will be done sooner, right? Because it's core downtown. But we are approaching it that way. So the number 4 is where we're connecting the existing S-Line rail trail. There's a disconnect of 1.3 miles. So we want to make that connection. It's going through the Phoenix Art District. It's connecting an elementary school where kids are walking currently unsafely. And so there is a method to the madness.
I want to go back to one question about funding. And I realize that it's going to take a lot of fundraising in order to keep this thing going. Do you have an idea of what maintenance costs would be and those operating costs are going to be on an annual basis? And how do you plan to keep up with those expenses? Are you going to rely completely on private donations or perhaps corporate donations or whatever to keep that going?
I do know what that might cost, but I don't remember what it might cost. Okay. So I'd have to get back to you on that. But our intent is to get an agreement with the city that we each kick in half for maintenance. That's the goal, which I think is a pretty good deal for the city, because the city is not going to be able to maintain it by themselves at the level that people are going to expect. And we believe that if that's not maintained well, we won't be able to raise another dime. So it's in all of our best interest, to maintain this thing in a really good way.
And security.
So we're gonna form a safety committee, invite JSO to that. So we don't have all the answers to that. I think we're going to look at technology. Like there's supposedly this GIS grid system that will be able to. People will know where they are at any time with their phones. We're going to have lighting for sure. I think we're going to figure out where cameras might be needed. Might be certain places where cameras are needed. But we're also looking at having ambassadors kind of like downtown. So remember, we'll also have our maintenance crew out there. Like they'll be out there on different trail segments, maintaining that all the time.
And those crews will be working for Groundworks?
Mm-hmm. So we love the idea of, we would love the folks that are on our maintenance crew to be living in the urban core neighborhoods, because to provide jobs for them, and also the fact that we just want everyone to feel like stewards of this project so that we're all helping to maintain it. So yeah, but that's our goal, is to have our own crew.
Idea.
Yeah. Thank you.
You got the enthusiasm, but it's a steep cliff.
No, and a steep cliff right along.
Exactly.
Good.
No cliff is too steep.
And that's the way that's the motto to end the program with, I think, is no cliff is too steep.
No trail is too high.
There you go. New bumper sticker.
Gay, this has been great. I really appreciate you coming by. And the time has just flown by, but we really appreciate you coming on.
I really appreciate you guys inviting me. I've been wanting to come on for a while.
Thank you. I mean, this is a transformative project. We all wish you the very best of luck, and we're going to make sure that it gets done. It's done right. and that the people, enjoy it and use it.
And
That's
love
the
it
most
and feel like
important.
it's theirs, So all of you could become trailblazers if you would like.
What does that mean?
That means it's an annual leadership program. It's a minimum of $1,500 a year. So you guys could consider that.
Can I wear a Davy Crockett hat and have, something like that, be a real trailblazer like that? And
You can do whatever you want.
okay. All right. That's going to do it, guys. A half hour went real quickly. Kate, once again,
Can't believe.
thank you so very, very
Thank
much
you
for
very
coming
much.
down here. Once again,
You're welcome.
we want to thank our sponsor, the Jacksonville History Center, and thank you, Dr. Alan Bliss and your fine staff for helping us out. And please catch us each week and find us on your favorite platform for podcasts. Until next week, on behalf of my co-hosts, Mike Tolbert, Mike Hightower, I'm Mike Miller, and we'll see you again next week.
Hi, I'm Scott Westerman, and I produce Mike's on Mike, with a special thank you to listeners like you who support the program through your contributions to the Jacksonville History Center. 2 years ago, Dr. Alan Bliss and his team generously agreed to aggregate gifts from listeners like you to help pay for the production and distribution of Mike's on Mike. When you specify Mike's on Mike with your donation to the History Center, your support makes these programs possible. And you're engaging in a relationship with the premier organization that celebrates the rich history of our hometown. If you enjoy these weekly conversations, consider a contribution to the Jacksonville History Center at jaxhistory.org. Say it's for Mike's on Mike. And if you're already a Mike's on Mike supporter, thank you.
Mike's on Mike with Mike Tolbert, Mike Hightower, and Mike Miller can be found on your favorite podcasting platform, Facebook, and YouTube. Visit the website at mikesonmike.com. Join us next time for more conversation with Mike's on Mike.
Mike.